Welcome, travel advisors, and happy Webinar Wednesday. Thank you for joining us today and spending part of your Wednesday with us. Those of you who join every week will notice that our co-owner and Senior Vice President of Sales, Gary Murphy, and our Vice President of Sales, Alex Finello, are not here today. Gary and Alex are unable to join today because they're attending a virtual travel trade conference, but they are sending their best regards and they're looking forward to being here next week. But we would like to remind you that this is a live and interactive event, and we encourage you to ask questions anytime and post your comments under the questions tab on the menu. Our team of knowledgeable and multilingual moderators are ready to respond to you in real time. At the end, we will also pick some of the questions for live Q&A. And now, Christine, you can take the lead.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very, very much, Abel. And I know Gary and Alex have a great time at the virtual conference, but it's actually bringing in some fresh air here to all of us, right? And I hope you, our travel advisor partners, you feel the same. It is like stepping on board one of our ships where Abel or Luis would welcome you as one of our esteemed cruise managers and, you know, go with you the entire trip, 7 nights. Now, we will not do 7 nights with you today. We only have 1 hour. And we are actually very, very grateful that you have decided to spend your precious time, your hour again together with us. I know that Douro is still an itinerary, a part of our world that is so popular, so beautiful, so high in demand. But nevertheless, we want to thank you. Thank you for all your support, for all your optimism, positive spirit, resilience to go with us through this more challenging time. So let's go to the next slide. So you all have been noticed by us that we had to decide to take another round of suspensions for our river cruise sailings embarking through October 15 this year. We are still very optimistic that we will get a couple of weeks out of cruising for this year, because you really never know. In Europe, the decisions are made pretty much every second week. It depends on the development of all the cases, the spikes in certain countries. And now it even seems that certain countries will plan to make their own decision, that it might not be any more European Union or Schengen area united what the next decisions will be. So we are all very, very curious to see how this plays out. I'm by myself still holding a flight ticket to go to Munich the end of October, because I am still scheduled to be on a couple of cruises in November and also December. So my hope is still up, and I hope you keep your hope up together with me. And while we had to suspend for our North American clientele, the Ama Christina is cruising, as you know, since July 5 on the Rhine River for our German-speaking guests, and it is going extremely well. We have 5 nights cruises, so we had now so many guests on board. They love the ship. They are really, really, their breath is taken away from the beauty of everything, the staterooms, the crew, the service, the treatment, how wonderful actually the cuisine is, the wines that they can all taste. And everyone is following the protocol, and everyone is actually feeling very safe when they are together with all the other guests in the public area, having their faces covered. But then, of course, when you're on the lounge, when you are in the dining room, in the privacy of your stateroom, your balcony, you do not have to wear any face coverings. And knock on wood, everything is going really fine on board our ship.
Porto is also very, very famous for their museums, for the churches. We have, for you to have an idea, we have more than 250 churches in Porto. We have museums. Actually, we just inaugurated the museum, a very interesting museum just next to the pier where Cuisine was mentioning, where we have all these wine cellars. Just behind it, we have now a museum called the World of Wine, with a beautiful courtyard and with some restaurants and 7 museums inside. Definitely a must-see during your free time in Porto. Porto is also a beautiful place for shopping. So if you would like to go for some local handmade jewelry, Porto is just the spot to do so. In a place called Rua das Flores, within a walking distance from the ship. Also, we have a place called Rua de Santa Catarina, which is the street where I'm living now, for shoe shopping and some cork shopping as well. If our guests are not into shopping, I would totally suggest you to see and taste some of the recipes of our local restaurants. For those of you who don't know, in Portugal, we have more than 300 recipes for codfish. So maybe one of the recipes would please you. If you are not into fish, I would totally suggest you to try our Cuisine, a massive sandwich with full with cold cuts, beef, melted cheese, and French fries. No calories, of course. Yeah, Porto is just magic, full with friendly people, outstanding food, and glorious weather. It's a very special place to be. As you can see on this next slide, this azulejo, this is a facade from a chapel, the Chapel of Souls. Actually, it's maybe 5 minutes walking away from my home. This is a small chapel, very nice by the inside. As some of you know, we have this gold gilded woodwork with gold that was coming from our colonies before. We would decorate the churches with this gilded woodwork. Beautiful churches to visit. Also, these tiles, they tell you a story, the story of the city. They tell you a religious story, and you will find them in the facades of the church. My second favorite port would be Pinhão. Pinhão is the heart of the valley. So in Pinhão, why do we call it the heart of the valley? In this picture, I think it can translate the heart. The heart is where you have all this landscape made of terraces, of vines, of people working in the terraces. And it's here as well where you have the perfect combination of different climate conditions, which makes it perfect to produce some of the best port wine in the valley of the Douro. So Pinhão is a very small town where you will have the chance to mingle with locals, where you have the possibility of walking through the promenade next to the ship, and you will feel like you're walking in a postcard. It's just mesmerizing the way that people sculpted these terraces. It's just the perfect combination between the balance of the mother nature and the interaction with it from the human being, from the man. So here you have the perfect conditions to have the best port wine. Some of the best properties are also located here. And it's not only that about Pinhão. If you'd like to go for a walk, I would totally suggest you here to walk up to the train station, where they have a beautiful panel with tiles that tell you the story about the port wine trading in the Valley of Douro. And also next to the train station, you have a beautiful street where you can do some shopping as well. So also the opportunity to mingle with locals and absorb part of the local history. It's one of the bucket list times.
I could just go back to Pinhão right away, but Abel, I know you might have.
The sun rises from Pinhão. Yeah, I love that.
I see Salamanca.
Great memory.
Yes, I absolutely agree. that Pinhão is a very charming place, and Porto is not just that it's Luis's city. I have to agree that it's one of the most romantic cities you can find in Europe. But my choices are a little bit different. There's a lot to pick from, yeah, in this valley. And being from native from Spain, my first choice is Salamanca. Yeah, Salamanca. Depending on which itinerary you're doing, you might do it as a day excursion from the ship when we dock in Vega Terron. Yeah, so we spend the whole day in Salamanca, even having lunch there, and returning back to the ship in the late afternoon. Or if you do the Lisbon to Madrid itinerary, once you get off the ship, you will spend the day in Salamanca before continuing on to Madrid, or the other way around if you're starting in Madrid. Yeah, but that's an experience that it's in all itineraries, definitely one of the highlights and one of the most beautiful cities in Spain. Yeah, this will give you a good glimpse of the country. The city is completely full of monuments. The most famous probably is the university, because it has the oldest university in Spain and one of the oldest in Europe, nearly as old as Oxford, Cambridge, and the Sorbonne in Paris. Yeah, it's more than 800 years old, and the university life is everywhere around, everywhere you look. Well, not at this time of the summer, but apart from the summertime, you will see the students having fun or studying, depending, in every corner. The number of monuments in Salamanca is unbelievable. Even though it's a very compact city, very flat, so it's very easy to walk around. It has two cathedrals, the old one being Romanesque, the new one is a Gothic cathedral. And what you see in the slide is probably the most beautiful Plaza Mayor in Spain. Maybe you know that almost every Spanish city has a Plaza Mayor, which is the central square where all the life happens, the main cafes, the marketplace, yeah. But I think most Spaniards would agree that's the one in Salamanca is the winner. It has a beautiful mixture of styles. Yeah, even though there are so many, everything is in perfect harmony because all the buildings are made with the same type of stone, which is a golden sandstone. So it makes a perfect postcard picture. And there's a challenge. Yeah, when you visit Salamanca, you will see one of the main examples of the Spanish Renaissance architecture. In Spanish, we call it plateresco because it sort of imitates the silversmith's work. You will see a very intricately decorated facade with well, many objects, many things there. And the challenge to every visitor to Salamanca is to find the frog in the middle of all those things. Yeah, so you can never leave Salamanca before you find the frog. Yeah, our guides will help you with that for sure. Yeah? Other experiences, yeah, during our cruise in the valley that I like very much are the visits to the Quinta da Veleda and Quinta da Vesada. I know that the names might sound quite similar, so that might confuse a little bit, but the experiences are absolutely different. Quinta da Veleda, and this is, I think it's quite remarkable, is a place where we spend a dinner out. I think it only happens in our itineraries in the Douro, that a couple, well, 2 or 3 meals, depending on the itinerary, are not on board, but we also want to bring you the local experience by taking you to one of these local quintas. So to say, we can roughly translate it as a wine state. And Quinta da Veleda is not just any wine state, it's a very special one with which we have a very strong relationship. We were talking about that with Christine. And it's a perfectly round plan because we arrive there in the evening, and first thing we do is visiting the gardens, the perfectly maintained English style gardens. Yeah, they are absolutely delightful. There's no better way to spend an evening, I think, at this time of the year than just well, getting a little bit lost in those gardens. And after that, we get the tasting of a very special type of wine. This time, it's not the famous port wine, but it's a Vinho Verde. Yeah, very light, mostly white wine. Yeah, but sometimes it can be also red. But the one we taste is a white one. And it is called Vinho Verde, green wine, because it's made with it's very young, yeah, and fresh. And it's a perfect pairing to, well, many of the Portuguese dishes. That's where we have also a very hearty dinner in the dining room right next to a balcony from where we dominate the vineyards at sunset. It's simply blissful. And the other meal out that I love is the one at Quinta da Avesada. This is excursion we do from Pinhão, and we live a little bit the valley, even though it's a very short ride, and that gives us the opportunity to see the famous cork trees, the real ones from where the cork is extracted in order to make so many great products. And there, the type of wine we taste before lunch is, again, it's not port wine, yeah, it's a Moscatel de Favallos, Muscat wine, yeah, with some notes of honey, dry fruits, dry nuts. It's really, really very easy to drink and the perfect appetizer for a very hearty meal. It's a sumptuous meal, actually, I have to say, but probably the best of the whole experience is the host, Mr. Luis Bajos. That always lights a smile, yeah, a good laugh in our guests, because he has a very unique personality, yeah, an amazing sense of humor. Definitely he does.
It's one of the favorite places of our guests altogether, and even the drive there. I mean, the Douro Valley has some of the steepest wine terraces in the world, and the drive is spectacular. And you know, and then depending on the time of the day we are there, gorgeous sunsets. It's also so different from season to season, seasonality. But we talk about this a little bit later. But back to the whole atmosphere, family atmosphere, knowing each other for all these years, doing always a little bit more for the Amar Waterways guests, right? And it's always done with love. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the host, we love having us there.
Oh, for sure,
Luis,
for sure.
He loves having us there. And he's full of stories and to share with our guests, and our guests absolutely love him. Because this is a property that is in the same family for more than 200 years. So it's a place with a lot of stories and a lot of good moments to be lived, together with some wine, with some music, and some excellent food as well, local food.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is. Now, we have a question here. Many of our guests choose to add a pre or post-cruise land program. And as a matter of fact, Lisbon and Madrid, offered on our Douro cruises, are our most demanded land programs right now. So could you talk about why our travel advisor partners should consider recommending either both land programs or one to all their clients? Maybe Luis, you want to start?
I would love to start with Lisbon. So by choosing to add the extension in Lisbon, in my opinion, it's a very relaxed way to start the experience. Well, our program it runs in the morning, so it means that in the afternoons, our guests they have the opportunity to explore a little bit of Lisbon on their own. The city tour itself is very complete, which gives you a very wide image of what the city is all about. So in the afternoons, they can either take some recommendations and visit some of the museums, like the Fado Museum, like the Tile Museum, the Chariot Museum. We have a lot of museums in the capital of the country. It gives them also the opportunity to go back to the places that they visit in the morning and to spend some more time there. They have some time also to engage in the local gastronomy, some of the local dishes, or some of the local pastries. As you know, in Portugal, you'll find many different ones, amongst them the pastel de Belém or pastel de nata for the rest of the country. Also, in Lisbon, you will have the opportunity to enjoy yourself and visit some of the local neighborhoods, like Alfama, where the fado, our local kind of music genre, was invented. Let's put it like this. And Lisbon as well. As soon as you get to our hotel, which is very conveniently located next to the upscale shopping district, you'll have also the opportunity to do some shopping, some souvenir shopping as well. Or if you just want to go for a walk, well, there are some parks in the city of Lisbon, like the Edward VII, which is just next to our hotel during your pre-cruise. Also in Lisbon, during our pre-extension, you will be able to visit next day Sintra. Sintra is a, well, what can I say about Sintra? Sintra is just a fairy tale, charming little town. As you can see on this slide, this is the Pena Palace. Our guests have the opportunity to visit. We go there in the mornings, as I was mentioning before. We stay there for the whole morning, which gives our guests the opportunity to visit this beautiful palace from the 18th century and enjoy and experience the beautiful views from this palace, because it's located on top of a hill. And after this, they can explore this charming little town of Sintra, and after lunch we return back to Lisbon. It is just outstanding to be here, and guests absolutely love the city of Sintra, because most of our guests, they come to Lisbon and they know, they heard about the city, but Sintra is a complete surprise.
It is. And Abel, now comes Madrid. So if you do a one-way itinerary, then you can choose to go to Lisbon and to Madrid. Tell us all about why.
I can take that one, definitely, yeah. So I'm a bit suspicious because I'm from Madrid and I'm also a local guide in the city, but I must say that the city is absolutely fantastic and it has so much to offer. During the city tour, the panoramic drive and also the walking in the old town, that will give you a good idea, a good general vision of what the city has to offer, and then you enjoy plenty of free time to discover the city also on your own. Madrid is a city of world-class museums. Yeah, for instance, the Prado Museum is considered by many experts as the most dense concentration of masterpieces of painting per square meter in the world. That's really, and that's just one of the amazing museums of Madrid. Yeah, there are many more with the Picasso paintings. Madrid is also a city of gastronomy. In the more formal restaurants, many Michelin star restaurants, but also in the very casual tapas bars where you can mingle with the locals and have a lot of fun. That's also a great experience, and I'm sure that your cruise manager, that can be Luis or me, whoever is with you, will give you some very good recommendations. Yeah, the ones where the local people go, if you want. Yeah. And it's a city with a very distinct personality. Actually, Madrid, every neighborhood has a very different personality. If you can walk, because the old town is very compact, so you can walk from most of the places of interest to the others, and every time you cross one of the main streets, you will see that the atmosphere is totally different. The area where we stay in Madrid, yeah, our hotel is located in the most exclusive, in the upscale district of Salamanca, so that's great for last minute shopping, great restaurants, yeah, and fantastic architecture dating back to the 19th century, early 20th century. And another thing I love about the Madrid extension is that we visit this beautiful town, Toledo. Yeah, Toledo, I'm absolutely in love, and it's a perfect contrast to Madrid. Yeah, a big city, yeah, versus a small city, a modern one versus an old one. Because in Toledo, every street, every building has a legend, has a story. Everything is cobblestone. It's also like a fairy tale. Yeah, it was the old center of power of Spain in the Middle Ages, and you see the city is up on a hill, perfectly embraced by the Tagus River. So we can say that the itinerary ends exactly the way it starts, because the Tagus River is the one that meets the Atlantic Ocean right in Lisbon. Yeah, so you see Toledo at the beginning, you see the Tagus River, and Lisbon at the end, or the other way around. It doesn't matter. But this is definitely one of the highlights visiting Toledo.
It truly, truly is so beautiful. Now let's do some language training here. Luis, you were born in Portugal, so we would love for you to teach us some Portuguese. Could you share a few words in your native language that would help guests to get around? And how is it in general in those Portuguese cities? Can one get around with English, or maybe you can tell us a little bit? But first, some Portuguese language skills for us, please.
Well, these words, with this one we can easily get around. And not only in Portugal, but only in Spain. I believe that Abel will agree with me. Like hola, it's hi in Portuguese, but hola is also the same in Spanish. Bon
Just a
dia
little bit
is
of the
good
accent, yeah.
morning. Yeah, just a little bit of the accent, but usually it's enough for you to get around. Bom dia means good morning. Por favor is please. And saúde, it's when you're toasting with someone, you say saúde, a saúde, to your health. There's also a word that I would like to share with you, which is obrigado. Obrigado means thank you, but it has a small trick here. You can say obrigado or obrigada. Let me explain. So if you are a man, regardless to whom you're speaking to, you always say obrigado. If you are a lady, regardless to whom you're speaking to, you always say obrigada. So this is a very small difference, but people love to hear you speaking their language, of course. It easily creates a connection between both of you. Also, these words are okay for you to get around, of course, but in these small villages, especially in shops, people will talk, not even if it's just a little bit of English, but you can get around. And yeah, if you go to the very small villages, probably you will have one or two people that will speak there. But yeah, you can get around with English only in most of the places.
I may say that in any case, it's always a great icebreaker to start with a Portuguese word, and that totally changes the way, the approach of the person we're speaking to. They really appreciate it when we just say one or two words at least.
Yeah.
Obrigada, obrigada. I think whenever you start with this word, no matter what time of the day, right, you will get a very nice recognition there. So, but also a big part of the travel experience and learning about different cultures is savoring local cuisine and wine, as we said. And we are, of course, in the oldest wine growing area. So could you tell us what Portugal has to offer? Maybe, Abel, I know that...
I can take that one, yeah? I will be happy to take it. I'm always happy to talk about wine, yeah? It's never a bad moment for that, yeah? So definitely, maybe you were wondering, when are they going? Are they going to mention the port wine? Of course, that's one of the first things that all travelers coming to Portugal expect, yeah? And I have to say that port wine is a whole universe, yeah, on its own. Maybe you know a lot or you're very passionate about wine, but when you come to the Douro Valley, you discover that the port wine is a different dimension. It's a fortified wine that comes in many different styles, yeah? And each of them so different. So I'm sure that there is a port wine for each of you. You haven't discovered it yet. You will discover it in the Douro Valley. It can be, of course, the vintage. Yeah, I have never met anyone who doesn't like the vintage port, to be honest. Yeah, or it can be a tawny, a white, or even a pink port, because now there are new styles of port wine which are being developed in the recent years. Yeah, and very trendy ones. But that's not the only type of wine that you will taste when you are there. Of course, you will taste probably more port wine, yeah, than you imagine. But there are so many very surprising other styles of wine, including the Vinho Verde that I quickly mentioned earlier on, which is a very light-bodied. It has a low content in alcohol, so it's perfect, yeah, to drink on a summer day with a little bit of spark. And it's mostly produced in the western part of the valley around, for instance, Quinta da Aveleda. And I'm sure that it will be a nice discovery for you. Another wine, the style of wine that I like very much, yeah, it's also the Moscatel, yeah, the Muscat wine that we taste in Favallos, and even sparkling wine is produced in the town of Lamego, yeah, it's called the Raposeira wine. But this said, the Douro Valley also produces an amazing number of wines which are not fortified, so they are not technically port wines, but they are under the Douro DOC appellation. Many different grape varieties and possibilities as well. And of course, the food, yeah. Portuguese food is amazing. I still remember that from my times at the university when I first landed in the country. And something that really amazes me about the Portuguese cuisine is that they really make unbelievable dishes with very simple ingredients. Because, you know, for Michelin star chefs, it's very easy to prepare great recipes with truffles and seafood, but the real merit is preparing memorable foods with very simple ones. Yeah. Every time you go to a restaurant in Portugal, you will find in the menu the list of meats, the list of fish, and on a separate sheet, probably you will find the codfish, because it's a totally separate chapter. Luis has mentioned earlier on that the Portuguese have 365 different recipes of codfish, one for each day of the year. But Luis, I'm sorry, I think that is wrong. I think there are many more than 365 recipes. I can tell you, I have tried many of them. And today I wanted to bring you my favorite one. You know, or at least it's the favorite of my wife. That's the reason why I have to cook it quite often here at home. And it is called bacalhau à brás. And you don't know how well it is smelling right here. Yeah, it's made from dry codfish, yeah, with eggs, fried potatoes, black onions, of course, and freshly chopped parsley. Very simple recipe, but it's absolutely something delicious. Yeah, bacalhau brás. It has no translation. Brás is simply the name of the man who apparently invented it. So it's simply bacalhau à brás. And to pair it with, well, probably the most classic pairing would be a white wine. This is the famous Vinho Verde, green wine I was talking about. But if you want to go a little bit more adventurous, you can also pair it, because it's a very savory dish, with a light-bodied red wine from the Douro. Yeah, the codfish also accepts very well this type of pairing. So this is my suggestion, yeah, of meal.
It's lunchtime somewhere. We are getting hungry now.
Almost dinner time, yeah. And I think, Luis, I think the picture is on you.
Well, since you came up with the main course, I feel obliged to bring something else. Well, I decided to bring you pastel de nata. These little pastries. You can try them in Lisbon. In Lisbon, in a neighborhood called Belém, they call it pastel de Belém. Everywhere else in the country, you will get it as pastel de nata. As a matter of fact, you will learn how to bake it on board. On board, we have cooking demonstration, and you will learn to bake pastel de nata. And also, because having just a pastel de nata is not enough, I decided to bring you our white port wine. Our white port wine is something that I really love, especially in the summertime, where you have these very warm days. You will have all you need to do, it's a very simple recipe. Have a glass, ice cubes, have a little bit of white port wine, tonic water, a slice of lemon, and a leaf of mint.
I definitely love that one. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
The perfect drink for a perfect sunset.
All right, we might have lost Luis a little bit, but in the matter of time, so let us just move forward. And I know we talked a lot about shopping already, and I wanted to ask you for your shopping tips. And I by myself actually have my cork little bag here with me. But I think we talked already a little bit about shopping. So maybe let's just show some slides here. And I would love to go right into seasonality, because that is so important for our travel advisors to really pick the right time for the clients. And times are very different on the Douro, as I have experienced myself. So what are, in your opinion, the benefits to sail the Douro during certain times of the year? Maybe Luis and Abel, you want to pick each one your favorite time?
Well, it's very difficult to choose a single one, because the river is changing all throughout the year. I'm thinking during springtime, something I like very much is to see the almond trees in blossom. it looks like all those hills are completely covered by snow, but it's actually the petals of the flowers. So springtime is definitely a beautiful moment. June is also one of the highlights because that's when most of the popular festivals take place in Portugal, starting with Santo Antonio in Lisbon and then moving on to São João in Porto. But I'm sure that Luis has some other favorite ones, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. The June festivities, you not only see the Saint John in Porto, but also in these little villages along the valley of the Douro. In June is the month of these festivities. Also, during the fall, right in the harvest, and even after the harvest, you see all these colors changing and makes it very special. So fall is also a great time to visit the valley.
I would say even summertime is fantastic because that's when you see all the vineyards with all the leaves grown. When you take the perfect pictures, like the one you can see on the slide, that's very likely to have been taken around this time of the year because harvest starts normally quite early in some parts of the Douro River. So if you want to see all the bunches of grape, the vines in perfect shape, you have to really do that in July, August. And also I can say when it comes to visiting Madrid is a big city, a highly populated city. That's when the locals go on vacation. So that gives you opportunity to be in the museums, some of the museums almost on your own. You can find a booking to those restaurants where it's very difficult to find one. So it has also some advantages, definitely. It is true that some parts of Portugal and Spain get quite hot during the summertime, but that's mostly in the south and the Mediterranean coast, but definitely not in the Douro Valley, and especially closer to Porto. Yeah, many guests, they tell me the same thing, the same comparison over and over again, and that is that the climate of Porto reminds them a little bit to San Francisco. I have never been to San Francisco myself, and they say that they always get this mist coming from the ocean that is very refreshing and cools down the temperature, even during the months of July and August. So temperature is simply perfect.
Yeah, perfect, wonderful. Yeah.
And like I can give you an example. Now it's August, and for the last few days we have a little bit of rain, cloudy days, so it varies a little bit as well.
Rain in August. That's because something not so normal.
Rain in August.
No. So we're moving very soon to the Q&A section, but before that, I just would like to bring a sneak peek of the events coming up in the next couple of weeks. Very interesting one, starting with a next webinar Wednesday that will be on the 19th of August. And that will be about how to overcome objections for greater success. I'm sure that's one not to be missed because it will be full of tips and ideas for a greater success. And on the 27th of August, this will be an event open not just for our very loyal travel advisors, but also for your guests. So please do invite them, feel free to invite them to join the next Sip and Sail Cocktail Hour. And the topic this time will be a festive Christmas markets river cruise celebration with some surprise guests. Would that be Santa or maybe the Krampus? I don't know.
Well, thank you so much, Abel. So now, obviously, while we have to pause for now 5 months this year, and we still hope, I mean, the Douro season continues into November. We still hope we can come back. But we would love to now go to a few of our questions that came to us, actually quite a lot of questions, I have to say. So let's get started with a very short one. Which AMA ships will be on the Douro? So we have the AMA Douro, our ship that started last year, 2019, operating the round trip Porto to Porto. And we have the AMA Vida, our ship that started 2013, operating the one-way itinerary. Both ships very similar. We carry 102 guests maximum on both ships. So very small, very personal. Now we have David here asking, having done a Douro River cruise years ago, what new things are available for passengers to see and experience? And I think, David, since you were there with us a few years ago, you must have done the round trip, Porto to Porto. I would now recommend you either to do the one-way itinerary, which we talked about, or go at a different season. Yeah, I'm not sure if you were in spring, now maybe go in summer or fall, but the seasonality really makes a huge difference when it comes to this beautiful part of the world. Luis or Abel, do you want to add something to the new things?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. As we mentioned earlier on, the river totally changes depending on the time of the year. And to David, I would like to say, if the itinerary you sailed before was the one starting in Porto and going back to Porto, then definitely don't hesitate to come and visit Madrid, do the Madrid extension. Yeah, we wait for you here with the open arms. And even on the Lisbon side, I would like to mention a new addition. That is the visit to the convent of Tomar, which is a UNESCO listed site, and that was the headquarters of the Order of Christ in Portugal. That maybe you're not very familiar with, but it sounds you're more familiar with the Templars. Yeah, that was a very important military order during the Middle Ages all throughout Europe. And once it was banned, it was transformed into recycled, so to say, into this order of Christ, and that was actually the one that supported the age of Portuguese discovery. So that is a tour full of history and full of interesting things.
So thank you so much, obrigada. So how far, another question was, how far is Lisbon from the port of embarkation, which is Porto? So how far is Lisbon from Porto? How do we transfer? And on the other side, how far away is Madrid from the cruise embarkation? Maybe Luis, you can take the Lisbon to Porto transfer day, and Abel, you want to take when we go from the ship to via Salamanca to Madrid?
Definitely.
Okay, so I can start with the Lisbon. So from Lisbon to Porto, the trip is around 3 hours. Okay, so we leave from Lisbon in the morning, and we get to the ship around 3:30 in the afternoon. So basically, we leave Lisbon around 11 in the morning, and we get to Porto around 3:30. We now take we do a bus ride, and it's when we stop in Tomar, and we spend the day there, or we spend the morning there. We have lunch, and then we do the rest of the trip back to the ship, and we will get there around 3:30.
And from the ship to Madrid, the driving time is a little bit longer. It's approximately 4 hours, but it doesn't feel long at all because it's broken into two parts. So first, when we leave the ship, the distance-wise, it's not very long one, but we drive through a natural park, approximately 2 hours. So we have to slow down a little bit, and that gives us the opportunity to see wild bulls, wild boars. What else do we see? Cranes, storks, and a lot of wildlife. And then we spend the whole day in Salamanca. We do the city tour, we have lunch, the included lunch there. We have a little bit of free time afterwards. And then we continue this time on the highway, 2 more hours until we reach Madrid. So breaking it like this, it looks perfect. Because actually after lunch is the perfect siesta time. That's another Spanish tradition you have to experience. So by the time you wake up, you're in Madrid already.
The landscape is just
sorry, there was one question actually related to this. Do you prefer to go from Madrid to Lisbon or from Lisbon to Madrid? Is there an advantage to go one direction over the other?
It's very personal. Probably I like better starting in Madrid because after that you start sailing in the Douro Valley and you go visiting from very small villages to a little bit bigger towns and then the grand city of Porto. So you go from less to more. It goes building up, so to say. But on the other hand, I also like finishing the tour the whole itinerary in Madrid on the other side. So I see advantages on both.
Perfect,
but
perfect.
At least the sailing part, I would say better from the border to Porto, at least for the sailing part. But that's my personal choice.
Yeah, it's good to have these, insider tips, right? Something about the hotels. The question was, can you both talk a little bit about the hotels we are using, both in Madrid as well as in Lisbon? And now Porto, of course, we don't have really a Porto land program, but we do have additional nights, right? So we can also talk quickly about this.
Yeah. Abel, would you like to take the lead?
Please, thank you. I already quickly mentioned that in Madrid, the location of the hotel is very convenient. It's in the Salamanca district. Is the as I mentioned, is the upscale area. Is right next to Paseo de la Castellana, which is the main avenue, the main artery of the city, and it takes you very quickly to almost any place. And many of the places of interest, you can reach them just simply walking. Yeah, you can go to the Prado Museum, which is approximately 15 minutes walk, a very pleasant walk. You also have the gorgeous park of Retiro, about 10 minutes walk from there. That's always one of my recommendations. Yeah, that's a park that originally was the gardens of the summer royal palace of the Spanish royalty. So it's a gorgeous one. And just the area offers so very much. Yeah, great restaurants. Right next to the hotel, there's there's a theater, a former theater that has been transformed into a tapas market. So it's full of delicatessen tapas stalls. So you don't want to make any reservations or just go a little bit with the flow. From the hotel, just walk 1 minute, and then you just see all those fantastic tapas places around you, and then you see what you feel like eating that day. It gives a lot of room for improvisation.
Yeah. And in Lisbon, on the other hand, we have also a very conveniently located hotel. We are next to the Edward VII Park, which is a very pleasant place to go for a late or early evening or late afternoon walk. Very pleasant to walk there. Also next to the upscale shopping district, Avenida da Liberdade, and it's within walking distance from Rocio. Rocio is where you find the theater, the municipal theater, and also a lot of bars and restaurants just around the square of Rocio, which allows you the opportunity to try some of the local dishes there, with everything within walking distance. In Porto, well, even though as Christine was mentioning before, we have also our hotel in Porto. Even though we do not have officially the extension in Porto, we use the Etman. In my opinion, is one of the best hotels in Porto for sure. You have this amazing view from Gaia over the Ribeira Quarter in Porto. You see the river, you see all these colorful facades, you see the entire city, the entire downtown of Porto, and it's just a gorgeous hotel to stay.
Thank you so much. There is another question. Looking forward to my Douro River cruise in September next year. It was postponed from this year. Any advantages of having a balcony on the round trip cruise? Obviously, an advantage in addition to all the fresh air when you sit outside. But the balconies are small on those ships, and it's very quick that you can go to the sun deck. Does any one of you want to take it with the balcony? Or otherwise, for me personally, it would be more whenever you want to go back to the privacy of your stateroom and be there with your loved one, maybe share a bottle of wine together on the balcony. That's where I feel really the balcony comes in quite handy. Otherwise, the sun deck is very beautiful as well. But maybe any other comments you would have, Abel or Luis?
If I may, yeah. Well, as we have already mentioned, I think several times, the landscape, the scenery on the Douro is simply unbelievable. So any opportunity that really can enhance your sailing experience there will count. Yeah. So a balcony, definitely in this itinerary you will use it, I'm sure. Yeah. Even if you are simply taking a nap and opening the curtains when you wake up, yeah, you will see all those beautiful gorges passing in front of you. it really will give you many intimate opportunities for enjoying the landscape from the scenery from your cabin.
Yeah. So we got many requests actually to get your cod recipe. So to all of you who are interested in, we will share this with you by email. So another question is, do you have water level issues with the Douro itinerary? Is there a time of the year where there is more likely to be water level issues? Does one of you want to take this one? Luis, please.
So we up to this date we never had any low water issue. High water we had back in 2013, but since then we were able to sail most of the time. So I don't know if you would like to add something else, Abel.
No, it's a river which is probably more reliable than other European rivers, and almost all year round, you should expect any big fluctuations in the level of the water.
Now, we had a question coming from our clients from Hong Kong. Welcome, thank you for joining. Do you recommend this itinerary for children, for kids? And any chance you would consider this itinerary through Christmas and December, or even extend November? So would you first like to take it for the children?
Definitely.
Yes,
we have had many kids already in the past, and they absolutely love the itinerary because it has so much nature. There are many things that they can learn all the time, and also the climate in Portugal is simply blessed by nature, and we always do more use on average of the sun deck and the open areas than in our itineraries in the rest of Europe, where the weather is not always that great. So I'm sure that they're going to love this itinerary as well. Yeah, I would say it's a perfect meeting with nature. You're in the open air a lot of time. The cities, the size of the cities and the towns is quite manageable also for kids. So I mean, not that much traffic or really massive cities. So definitely, I would say definitely.
Both Rudy and I, we took our children to the Douro River a couple of times when they were little, got older. For them, it was always one of the most beautiful itineraries. There was so much to do, so much to go and see, and I think it is definitely something where you can have children on board. And now, in terms of seasonality, obviously we go into November. We have not extended into the later part of November because we always felt that there was a little hole over the Thanksgiving holiday. And then the Douro does not have the traditional Christmas markets that you can find on the Rhine or the Danube cruises. However, you all know that we are moving our Ama Cristina to the Rhone River, and we do Christmas time and holiday cruises on the Rhone River starting in December 2021. So climate-wise, I think it would be absolutely fine to cruise also in November or December. And now we just have to overcome a little bit the hole over Thanksgiving. Are there any Christmas markets, Luis, at all?
In Portugal, we do not have that tradition. Especially on the Douro, we don't have this Christmas market, unfortunately. But yeah, it's mainly a tradition from Central Europe.
Yeah. Holiday lights, are the windows decorated? Do you have Christmas trees there?
We do. We have our Christmas lights. We have Christmas trees. We have all these traditional items decorating our houses and our streets. We do not have the Christmas market. That's the only thing that we actually don't engage yet.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I can say that Madrid is a little bit more of a Christmassy city. The lights there are really a whole event. Yeah, the lighting of the streets is normally around the third week of November, so pretty much around Thanksgiving time, and it's a whole event. Yeah, people they do organize routes to see the different lights. They change every year, and there's a Christmas market as well in the Plaza Mayor in Madrid. So there's
Beautiful,
a lot of Christmas
beautiful.
things to do.
This is really such a great destination, so popular, and we want to answer as much as possible. So question for you, Luis or Abel. Many of my clients are history buffs. What sites are most appropriate for history? Do you want just to pick one or two each?
May
Yes,
I
please.
start? I would definitely start with Porto, and then I would mention Castelo Rodrigo, which is also one of the ports that we go through, and it's full of history. Castelo Rodrigo and Porto, they will absolutely love it. Of course, I could tell you many more, but these are the first ones that come to my mind.
Yeah, no, that's a very good choice from the sailing part, definitely. And for the pre and the post, I would also add Tomar, as I mentioned, with the Convent of Christ, and Toledo in Spain, because it's a city. It has probably more history than any other city in Spain.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. And I know we had so many more questions. The ones that we couldn't answer, our team of moderators, they will all get back to you by email. And you can, of course, also always reach out to us, either to askmarketing@amawaterways.com, or you have many of our own email addresses. Please feel free to come to us directly. And you know, ama means love, amore, it's a love story. It's a big heart that we all have and share. We love what we do. You love what you do. Let's get and work on this together into the future, because even so we had to pause, we are very convinced that we will start cruising again. Might take a little bit longer, but once we start, it will be the best celebration on the river. Now, I want to end with this wonderful team picture from our global summit on the Ama Magna. And this was the first week of January this year, where we all came together. The weather was stunningly beautiful. And so thank you so much again. We look forward to welcoming you as soon as we can cruise again. And thank you also for staying with us all these Wednesdays, and looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday again. Thank you so much.